I can't remember the last time a year looked so stacked in hip-hop. It's 2022. We already got a bunch of stuff in January, but now it looks like we're going to have a really solid year because Kanye just confirmed Donda 2. Pusha T's teasing a new album. We have Travis Scott with Utopia, Kendrick Lamar's new album, a new Denzel Curry album. There's so much going into this year, and there's a lot to talk about, guys. So for today's tier list, Lou and I put together something a bit different. So we're going to be rating all these anticipated albums on a scale of how good do we think it's going to be once they drop. So our tier lists work a bit different. We start off with a different rating system. So we start at bad, we go to mid, then good, then great, amazing, and then perfect. So Lou, how excited are you for 2022?
I'm super hyped, bro. So many great albums on the way, guys. So we'll have 25 albums to go through and go through the motions with us in the comments. Let us know your predictions. So let's get started with Donda 2 by Kanye West. With Future executive producing it, I feel like Kanye's going to go into his toxic bag, maybe give us some more songs like Ecstasy, but I'm also expecting some more trap bangers like he's done on songs like All Day. And listen, Kanye West usually reinvents himself. Now we're getting the first sequel of his career. I still feel like it'll be good, but I do hope that we get a new era of Kanye West. Overall, I feel like it's a bit too soon after Donda and the album might get slightly rushed, so I'm going to say it'll be a great album, but maybe not amazing like Donda was.
What about you? Yeah, I think a great rating is good because we had initially given Donda an amazing rating. If you guys want to see our review to Donda, you guys could access it on the channel. But let's go on with the next one.
Yeah, and that was actually such a fun album to listen to, the two of us and Nick. But it's going to be cool to actually bump this album with the Patreon members from the Reaction and Crew tier because we actually bump new releases every week on Friday at 12 a.m. Eastern in a live stream where you guys actually come in with us, chat with us, and actually share reactions. So it's going to be so dope to do it for Donda 2. If you guys want to access that, it's actually available in the link to the description. So going into this, it's going to be awesome to actually bump the album all together. But let's now go on to Utopia by Travis Scott. How do you feel about this one?
It's definitely in a different zone for me because I want to see how he's going to deliver it, right? Like, obviously, there's some different concerns about the way, he's going to be presenting certain subject matters and the way that he's going to tackle his production. So I want to ask you, do you think he's going to change up the course of his album if it ends up dropping this year? And how do you think it'll sound if he decides to go into a different lane?
I hope he doesn't limit his creative expression, after the Astroworld incident. I hope that he doesn't kind of clip his creativity because he's scared of staying with that same persona and branding. I just hope that he follows through with his vision. And I feel like I want this music to be futuristic. I want to get that psychedelic rock that he was teasing. And I want something more like Lost Forever, where you have this mind-bending psychedelic sound and Travis rapping more deeply, I would say. That would be super cool because not all the singles have been hitting as of late. But he does a great job at world building. And I think this album is going to be amazing.
You think it's amazing?
I think it'll be amazing. What about you?
I think between the great and amazing, but
maybe great. You know what?
I think great is a good one.
I think great is a good one because there's so much mystery. We don't know anything about it. So we'll slot it in at the great for now. But let's go on to Melt My Eyes, See Your Future by Denzel Curry. And listen, he's been one of my favorite artists for over half a decade. And it's because of how consistent he is, how versatile he is. And hearing that this new album is the spiritual successor to Taboo and a follow-up to it, I love the fact that he's returning to writing on this album. Knowing that he's going to be singing and rapping with so much soul gets me hyped. So I'm going amazing with this. I think it has the chance of being an Album of the Year contender.
Oh, definitely Album of the Year contender. And especially after getting Walking. I mean, you understand what type of zone Denzel's in right now. You understand the type of writing he's going to present. And it's actually the first written album he's going to be doing since Taboo because Zoo was freestyled and Unlocked was freestyled as well. So I'm happy to see it. And apparently, he's gained a lot of motivation and a lot of experience from traveling to Peru and seeing the living conditions there. So he said that would be a factor that he would bring back to his album. But let's go back to another one.
Conscious Denzel and conceptual Denzel is very dangerous, so it's going to be awesome. But let's now go on to the Pink Tape by Lil Uzi Vert. And listen, it's kind of been an interesting period in Uzi's career just because I feel like with the Pink Tape, Uzi has never missed on a mixtape, so I do have high hopes, but I didn't really like Eternal Take, and I didn't like Demon High, where he kind of tried the hyperpop sound, and apparently, he's also experimenting by starting to rap over rage beats, and also a drill beat for the new Nigo album, so I feel like he's going into an experimental route, which does interest me, but I don't know if Uzi has it like that anymore, I feel good.
You feel good?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go good too, but you can't count him out because it's mixtape Uzi. We know what type of catalog he has in that direction. And I think that once you start to understand maybe Uzi's new vision with his music and what he has coming, that's when we're going to be like, okay, this is solidified. So it's a very interesting case with Uzi. I think we're going to slot it into good, but let's keep going with
All right,
this.
moving on to 12 Carat Toothache by Post Malone. This was actually revealed to us not too long ago, and Post Malone said that this is going to be his shortest album, clocking in at 45 minutes. And when it comes to Post Malone, I mean, I think he's great in that pop rap lane, and I like the fact that he's always able to, generally create pop music, but always implement these different sounds like country or rock, hip hop, whatever the case may be. I love his genre bending, and I just want Post Malone to go more raw with his vocals. I want to get another Feeling Whitney where it feels so personal and the song's being led by his vocals and not the actual production. So I think with this new album, knowing that he wants to have something that's very consistent and not too long, not too much filler, I'm feeling really good about it. I'm not going to lie. I think it could end up being a great album.
You think it'd be a great album?
I think it could be great. What about
I
you?
agree with you. I mean, he's such a talented artist,
Yeah.
and he always has great vocal performances. It's always so deep and emotionally raw, and I want him to have that sort of atmospheric production that we saw in songs like White Iverson again. I want to see him, go back into that type of mode where he's making moody music, but it's so atmospheric, it's wavy, it's beautiful.
We need
to
the
play.
Stony vibes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like you need something that's going to really put you into a trance. So I agree with you. I think it could potentially be great. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah, so next up we have The Forever Story by Jid. And listen, to me, Jid is just a master of flowing. And I think that it's amazing how he does so many flow switches per song. And every new song he drops, somehow he ends up introducing new flows. So in terms of his technical ability, he's one of the best in the game. I do think that at this point with his third album, this is his time to go from being a respected rapper to a superstar. And we see he has that potential with the features he's done with Dua Lipa, Doja Cat, Imagine Dragons. He has that commercial appeal. So now I'm hoping the Forever Story ends up being conceptual. I hope that it's a nice follow-up to the Never Story. And I think it will be. Surround sound and all the Lucy's he's been dropping have been absolutely fire. So I think it's going to be an amazing project. What about you?
I think it is going to be an amazing project. Like, he's just on a different level when it comes to technical capabilities. And I think that when you're going to go into this album, I think that's where it's going to strive the most, is all the different types of flows and the cadence switches and, the lines that he's going to have. Like, he strives everywhere as a rapper. And I don't think that he has, a single weakness to his arsenal. I even like his singing performances at times. Like, he is really good at doing a multitude of different things. So I want to see diversity. I want to see a step up from DiCaprio too. But let's go on to the next one.
It's time to see if, like J. Cole said, Jid's the closest thing to me. Time to prove it, Jid. And he's done it before, but I want to see him actually execute this third album well. Moving on to Intergalactic by Kid Cudi. And Kid Cudi's dropping 2 albums in 2022, which is super exciting. We chose Intergalactic because we actually know more about it. And I'm so hyped, bro. I mean, I loved Man on the Moon 3, and I think that Cudi is in such a great creative space. And I think that vocally, he is just one of the most soothing rappers in the game. I love how much he's able to do. And I'm expecting something that's very atmospheric. I'm expecting something that is different from anything any other artist is dropping. And the fact that a TV show is also connected to this album gets me so hyped. So I think it'll be another amazing album, bro.
I think it will
you?
be an amazing album. I mean, in my opinion, at least, I think Kid Cudi is the best rapper at setting up atmosphere, and especially with his relatability factor.
Yeah.
Like, that's the two things that work really well for Kid Cudi, and I think that's what's going to lead into this amazing album. Is the fans are going to be able to relate to this and feel it on an emotional level, while being able to create some of the most unique soundscapes in all of hip hop. So I think it'll be an amazing album. Let's go on to the next one.
Yeah. Next up, we have Pusha T's new album, and listen, Daytona was arguably the best album of 2018. We know what to expect with a Pusha T album. We know we're getting those coke bars. We know we're getting some of the slickest production that hip hop has to offer, especially that Kanye and the Neptunes are at the helm of this. Fucking hyped, bro. I think it's... Listen, Pusha T's catalog is immaculate, and this will be no different. I don't want to say perfect because it's too soon.
I want to say perfect.
I don't know, bro. Perfect means like Daytona level. You think it'll be on that fucking level?
I think it'll be on that level.
You know what?
I think you have to. It's come on. If we're
It's
going
Pusha
back,
T, bro. Like, he's just one of the best rappers alive.
Another great thing about Pusha T is that this is only going to be 12 songs, so you already know what type of coherent value there's going to be within this album. Not only that, but Kanye primarily handled all of Daytona, but you have you also have just as good of a collaborator in the Neptunes. Like, they carried everything for the clips. So what's the excuse with this? I think that we have to put it at that perfect rating.
I think there's nothing that could like knock it down. You know what I mean? It's
Like,
just
unless he starts making fucking pop hits, like that's
Yeah.
the only way I think that this could knock the album. But let's keep going on with the list.
Next up, we have Playboi Carti's Narcissist album, and with every Carti album, you don't know if it's actually going to be coming out, but there's been a lot of teasing for this, and I do appreciate the risk he took with Whole Lotta Red. So going into this new album, I'm curious to see, does he reinvent his whole image once again, or does he stick to this vamp aesthetic? But nonetheless, I just feel like Carti's one of the only artists that's actually pushing the trap genre forward and who keeps innovating. And for that reason alone, I know this album's going to be exciting. I know it's going to be unpredictable, and I know I'm going to enjoy the experience. So I think it's going to be a great project no matter what it ends up being.
Great or good? I don't know. I feel as if I want to kind of give Playboi the same treatment as I did for Uzi, sort of thing, where, I enjoyed Whole Lotta Red. I think it's a good album. I just think that maybe Narcissist is going to be on that same level for me. So, listen, my prediction will be good.
I'll compromise again and going down to good, for sure.
I think it's going to be a good album, and I hope that, Carti ends up having a fantastic release. But just based on Whole Lotta Red, I think I would put it around that good section, but let's keep going.
So let's go on to the only non-hip-hop artist on the list, Frank Ocean, who has teased his new album. And listen, he popped off on the Blonded Radio, gave us a very emotional song, and anytime Frank Ocean drops, it's a huge event. I kind of, view it the same level as a Kendrick release, just because they don't drop often, but when they do, they change the course of music. And I just love the genre bending from Frank Ocean. I love just the fact that his music just puts a smile on my face. It feels so comforting. And I think with this new album, he might return to rapping again, which is super interesting. So everything is looking promising. I think that I want to say, because there's so much that's left in the dark because he's been so quiet, I feel amazing because I need more to know that this is going to be another masterpiece. So I think we got to slot in at amazing for now.
Again, I'm going to have to come in and give a perfect rating on my end. I'll tell you why.
I think we got to slot it to amazing for this one.
No.
We don't know anything about it. Frank Ocean is one of the best artists of our generation, but there's just too much left in the dark right now.
Listen, but he's never delivered anything besides perfect, in my opinion. Like, his stuff is literally top quality. Like, there's not a single inch missing. Plus, he's taken so much time off of music. Like, he has that time to craft the perfect album. So listen, if you want me to go down to amazing, I will, but I personally think it's perfect, at least in my opinion. I can see myself
I'll give Frank Ocean once again the benefit of the doubt, just because, like you said, never missed, never did anything that's subpar to his best work. So we'll give it the perfect for Frank Ocean as well. Let's go into Yeat's new album, and this is an interesting one, probably the most underground artist we have here, and I have no fucking idea what to expect, bro. Like, this guy's a mystery, but that's what makes the listening experience a blast with Yeat project. So it's gonna be cool to see where he goes. I know that he's been working with artists like Lil Yachty, working with artists like Lil Uzi Vert. He has the Drake co-sign. Maybe that could do something, but his sound is interesting. I feel like he kind of takes Playboi Carti style beats with the Pierre Bourne influence and kind of just does his thing, bro. Like, you can't explain Yeat. He's a phenomenon that you just have to listen to the music and find out what you're in for.
Exactly. It's sort of left to your own interpretation, and I think that's why I'm going to say a good rating for this album. Like,
I agree.
I don't think it's going to be bad quality, but I want to see what he's going to do, right? Like, it's hard because he's such a mystery and his music is so out there that you're going to see the way that he's going to be able to bend different genres and maybe,
I don't think genre bending necessarily.
No, I think so, especially with the type of productions maybe he chooses, and especially within his projects. I think that
he hasn't really done that before, but...
No, I think he's done it, especially like his music is totally unique to anyone.
No, I know, but I don't think he blends in any genres per se.
Well, there's trap influences, also hyper pop influences.
Yeah, but that's also kind of like, in the realm more or less of hip hop, but maybe different subgenres. We'll have to see. But let's now go on to Freddie Gibbs' SSS album. And listen, for me, Freddie Gibbs has dropped Album of the Year contenders for the last couple of years. If you look at Fetty in 2018, Bandana in 2019, and then Alfredo in 2020, phenomenal albums. And it's just exciting to see that he's going to be working with so many different producers on this album. I wish that he was kind of honing in with The Alchemist or Madlib again, because we've seen the results of that. We know how good they mesh together. But nonetheless, I've liked the singles with Jadakiss, and I just think that it's going to be fire, bro. I mean, Freddie Gibbs just doesn't disappoint.
No, he's a super consistent rapper, and I think that I'm in between the great and amazing rating. I don't know where I'm going to put it. I think that I want to give it amazing because of the fact that, he hasn't, he's delivered amazing projects for the past 4 years, and it's nothing, he's just consistent, bro. If you want to really talk about consistency, he has that. And I think that bringing back Madlib here, The Alchemist, having all kinds of different productions, bringing Boy Wonder maybe, there's all kinds of different shit that you could see with SSS that could lead it up to an amazing album. So that would be my take, but I'll compromise for you if you want to go down to the grades.
I think amazing.
Yeah,
it's Freddie Gibbs, bro.
Yeah, you can't expect anything less. He's super consistent, but let's keep going with this.
Next up, A$AP Rocky's new album, and we've been waiting for this for so long, and to me, I just feel like he has so much charisma, so much bravado, and I just love how much personality he has as a rapper, and I love the fact that he said this new album is going to be even more experimental than Testing was, so I'm curious to see what he does, if he brings back some of his old styles like the chopped and screwed sound, if he brings in some acid rap and that kind of aesthetic too. It's going to be cool, but I do think that he's going to maybe do some some genre bending, maybe bring in some rock influence like he did on At Long Last A$AP, so it's going to be cool to see, but I just feel like A$AP Rocky's voice would be so refreshing to hear right now. So I think it'll be amazing. What about
amazing
you, man?
rating for A$AP Rocky's new
Absolutely.
album? Yeah, I think it's always an amazing experience going into an A$AP album. Even Testing was a fantastic listen. A lot of people have their views on it, but I'm still within that realm. But I'll pick up from here. I'll keep going with it. Let's start with Kendrick Lamar's new album. So we've talked a lot about this album on the channel. Some people are saying that we're turning into a Kendrick channel, and I wouldn't even blame you. I mean, I'm such a big fan of this dude, and I've been listening to his music for years. So, do we give him the perfect rating, or do we go to amazing? What do you think is going to happen with it?
It's Kendrick Lamar, bro. You cannot give anything besides perfect. I mean, the guy has masterpiece after masterpiece built up in his catalog, and I think this new album is going to be no different. It's going to be cool to see if he brings in those oddball cadences, to see if he's going to have that rock influenced album that was kind of mentioned and hinted at in 2020. But nonetheless, it's Kendrick Lamar. Every time that he drops, he has the biggest moment of that year. And I think that this will probably influence and shape the course of hip hop for the next years to go down the line. So for me, it has to be perfect. There's no compromise.
No, there's definitely no compromise with it. But let's go on to Benny the Butcher's Tana Talk 4. Just released a new single with J. Cole. Sounds absolutely fantastic. So where do you think he goes with this album? Because it's going to be the fourth installment of the series. He dropped Tana Talk 3 back in 2018.
I'm not sure if there's actually, I think there is a Tana Talk 1 and 2, but I don't think you can find it anywhere online. But
regardless, it's the fourth installment of the series. So where do you think this album is going to go? Because I feel as if with the Plugs I Met 2, it was maybe a bit more of a commercial attempt, but I feel as if with this one, he may go back to something that we've seen on Burden of Proof. So where do you stand with this album?
I wouldn't say it was that commercial. I just feel like it was, I don't know, it wasn't as raw as his older stuff, but I would say that Tana Talk 3 is probably my favorite Griselda album ever. So I'm expecting no different from this project. And to know that The Alchemist and Derringer are kind of going to be at the helm of the production gets me hyped. And Benny the Butcher's one-liners are always phenomenal, and I just feel like he's one of the best rappers in the game right now. So I'm feeling an amazing rating.
You're going with an amazing rating?
What about you?
Yeah, I think that's a solid choice for it. A lot of amazing ratings on our list. This is going to be quite the exciting year.
Absolutely.
Let's go on to Eminem's new album. So, listen, I'm going to slot this in at mid right away. I think that, listening to what he's been releasing for the past couple of years has been disappointing to me as an Eminem fan. And it's not because, it's Eminem and I like to hate on him. No, I have his fucking vinyls in the back of my thing here. It's just, for me, he hasn't been impressing me because the flows have gotten stale for me. The cadences and the voice switches have been weird. And there's so much cringe and corny content matter on the album. So that's at least my opinion. I think it's going to slot in at the mid.
Yeah, I just feel like Eminem is always trying to flex his technical ability, which we know he has it. We know he hasn't lost it and never will. But at this point, just make a good fucking album, bro. You know what I mean? Music to Be Murdered By wasn't really all that entertaining for me. And I just feel like Eminem's delivery isn't as focused. And he's kind of rapping too fast just to prove a point. But I do think that Eminem still has potential, especially if he locks in with producers like Dr. Dre or The Alchemist. So we'll have to see what ends up happening. Definitely slotting it in at mid because of his recent track record. But let's now go in to Drill Music in Zion by Lupe Fiasco. And I think that next to Kendrick Lamar, Lupe Fiasco is that artist that you have to analyze that album and sit with it for months on end because of how layered it is. And he compared this to his version of an Illmatic album. And I don't doubt Lupe Fiasco. I think that it's going to be a conceptual masterpiece, and I think it's on that perfect level.
No, it could definitely be on that perfect level. I mean, if you guys are not familiar with Lupe's catalog, please do a dive, and it's going to take you a long time to understand this content matter, but he's literally a perfect rapper. He is one of the greatest lyricists to ever touch hip-hop, and I think that when you're going to get this new record, maybe it is going to be one of the best albums of the decade, like his engineer is saying. So we'll have to see what happens, but Lou, let's go on to the next one.
Next up, Joey Badass's new album, and this is very interesting because I'm just such a big fan of 1999. I think it's the greatest mixtape of all time. And I also think that his catalog, even though there's only like a couple of projects in there, they've all been super solid. And carrying off of All American Badass, I just think that Joey can't do any wrong. Despite me feeling like the recent singles, the Light Pack EP and The Revenge, are just void of any substance. And I find that kind of weird because that's what Joey's kind of known for. So I'm a bit hesitant. But Joey hasn't disappointed on an album level. So I don't know where to feel, bro. This one kind of has me torn. What about you?
I want to go good on it. I think that based on The Revenge, listen, I'm a huge Joey Badass fan. And before The Cash, All American Badass, 1999, he has one of the most solid catalogs in all of rap. But the Light Pack wasn't that great, and The Revenge was really not that great in my opinion, and who knows where he's going to be going with his lyrical content. So I think good for now, but I really do hope he proves me wrong. Lou, let's go on to the next one.
The next project is 21 Savage's new album. Let me ask you this, bro. What would you do if 21 Savage comes in with some British accents? What would you do, man?
That would be absolutely awesome to see. And I want to see what type of producers he's going to be working with, because
it's got to be Metro.
It has to be Metro Boomin. Like, it can't be nothing short but a whole fucking track list produced by Metro and giving me those dark aesthetics that I've come to love. I mean, I like Savage Mode 2. I don't think it necessarily lived up to the Savage Mode series sort of aura because the first installment was so legendary in my eyes. But
yeah.
I'm a fan of his studio albums. I Am Greater Than I Was a major step up, especially on the artistry level of things. So where do you think he goes with this album?
I think that 21 Savage has grown with every project and just keeps evolving and getting better as an artist. So I think that this project will be no different. I think it's going to be a great album and maybe one of the best trap records of the entire year. And it's just because of how unique he is. And he's been killing the feature game as well. Let's now move on to Danny Brown's Quaranta album. And this is very interesting because I feel like Danny Brown is kind of one of the most wild and eccentric rappers out there, and I feel like this album might be all over the place sonically, but thematically I think it's going to be really solid. So I'm feeling a great rating just because we don't know too much about it yet, but I could see it dipping into the amazing slot. What about you?
I could see it going into the amazing, but I want to say great to stay safe with it. But I love this feature on Buzzcut last year, so he's definitely not dipped down in performance quality, and as you said, he is super unpredictable as a rapper. But now let's go on to Conway the Machine's God Don't Make Mistakes. This is going to be his Shady Records debut. It's going to be awesome because you get to see what he's able to do. So we've talked a lot about this album on the podcast. Where do you stand with it? Where do you think it's going to land?
Listen, Conway is going to kill it. I think that his dark aesthetic is always fantastic, and yeah, it's just he's one of Griselda's finest, and Shady Records debut, he's gonna show out. So I'm feeling between great and amazing. What do you think?
Let's go great.
Let's go great for Conway?
Yeah, let's go great. If we put Danny on that level, we'll put it again. But let's go on to Saba's A Few Good Things. So we've gotten a lot of music out of it. We kind of know where the album direction is going to go. So now that you've gotten these singles, where do you want to place your rating with it?
Very interesting. I feel totally split because I really enjoyed, I enjoyed the song with Crazy Bone and I enjoyed Survivor's Guilt with G Herbo. But the first two singles, I really wasn't a fan of. I know we experimented with Fearmonger, but really didn't enjoy that track. And the other one, which I think is called Don't Stop That, kind of felt derivative of some Drake flows I've heard in the past and didn't feel like the Saba that I know. It didn't feel that authentic. So I'm kind of feeling in the middle here. I would say a good album.
Say a good album on Saba. Listen, I hope Saba proves us wrong, but I am on that level. We'll see what happens, right? We still have a whole track list to go through, and we are going to be dropping that review when it does happen. So let's go on to Big K.R.I.T's Digital Roses Don't Die. This is always an artist I'm down to hear from. Last drop was in 2019. How do you think Big K.R.I.T's going to come with it? Because it feels like he's experimenting with different productions. It may not have sort of that southern influence that you'd find on his earlier mixtapes. So where do you think this album lies for him?
I'm just really excited. I think that, it'd be cool to see if he does something where he did with Forever Is a Mighty Long Time, where he had a double-sided record. I'm curious to see what he has in store. But I do think that Big K.R.I.T is just such an underrated rapper, and he can fit on over a trap beat. He can do conscious rap. He can do gospel rap. He can kind of do it all. And the fact that he's going to be producing a lot of this album has me excited. Curious to see the kind of, inspiration he has for this. But I think it'll be, great or amazing.
let's give Big Crit the Amazing. I think that he definitely could slot up in there. He's a rapper.
Album of the year contender.
Maybe. That's why, like, I really do feel as if Big Crit
Okay.
always comes through with it. Like,
Still
he
amazing.
always has quality. But let's go on to Future's new album. So he is executive producing Donda 2. He's extremely active, and he took a year off last year. That was the first time since 2013. So now he's had more time to craft it. Do you feel as if this will be a level up from his previous project?
Future's always been a trendsetter, especially for the trap genre, and you can always count on him to, provide the bangers that you need to carry out the year. And to know that he's back in the studio with Metro Boomin, to know that Drake has been spotted at the same studio, maybe we're in for some more Where You At, some more Diamonds Dancing, just some classic Future and Drizzy tracks mixed in with some of the hardest banging productions of the year. I think Future will deliver a great trap album.
Great trap album? I'd maybe do good. I think that I may be
Really?
I think
Not that many high expectations for you?
just his previous releases, like The Wizard and Light, and like,
weren't the best, I guess.
So you know what I'm trying to say? Like, maybe I don't want to set
All
my
right.
expectations too high.
I agree with you.
I would probably
we'll
put it
good.
on the good one. But let's go on to Nas and Hit Boy's King's Disease 3. So Hit Boy had said that this would probably be dropping this year, and we know what the first two installments sound like. King's Disease 2 was an album of the year contender, and where I sit with this album is that I feel as if I know where it's going to go with it. It could kind of get maybe a bit predictable. So I think I'm feeling a good rating on it. I think it's going to be a good album, and that's kind of where I want to set it.
It's a bad take,
because I don't know if it's going to be. So how do you feel about it? That's where I stand.
I think we got to go a minimum great, which it could kind of go into the amazing, because King's Disease 2 was a step up over King's Disease, and I love the fact that Hit Boy and Nas have just been so consistent, bro. Like, it's one thing to provide quality, but to do it on a yearly basis by keeping the fans fed, that's amazing to me.
The first installment was good, though. The first
it was great. I wouldn't say it was good. It was a great record.
I would say it was good, but listen, I understand where you're
and
coming
King's
from.
Disease 2 was amazing. So with this trajectory, maybe King's Disease 3 will be even better, especially
That's
after
true.
what they delivered with Magic. And Nas just, he actually creates a movie with his words, and he shows us that he can adapt to any climate. So I think we'll have to slot it into the great category, but all of these albums are super exciting, guys, and we'll actually be doing album reviews to most of these projects on these lists, as well as album reactions on a weekly basis for all these latest drops. So actually, feel free to actually check out our Patreon plans available in the description below. It's going to be awesome to bump all these albums with you guys. So make sure to stay tuned for all of this, as well as all the album rollouts that we're going to be covering for all of this. So thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for watching the full video, and if you're new to NFR, be sure to hit that subscribe button, as we'll be keeping you guys updated with the latest album releases in terms of update videos, album reviews, and our own original series on the weekly. And we also have our Patreon plan available in the description below, where you can access weekly bonus content and also access to our Discord. So be sure to check out all of that, and we'll catch you in the next one.